Hey guys, before we start, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment if you have any feedback. Let's go to the story. I never thought I'd be the kind of person to cut people out of my life, but here I am. It's funny how quickly your perspective changes when you realize you were nothing more than a convenience to the people you cared about. For years, I told myself I was helping my family, being a good person, and doing what anyone in my position would do. But in reality, I was being used. I'm Ethan, 29, and this is the story of how I learned the hard way that some people don't see you as family. They see you as a free ride. It all started when I bought my house. I had worked my ass off for years, saving every penny I could while my friends were out partying, traveling, or living their best lives. I wasn't bitter about it. I had a goal, and I stuck to it. By the time I was 28, I had enough saved up for a decent down payment, and against all odds, I managed to buy a small but comfortable house. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. A place I could finally call home. That's when my cousin Jason, 31, and his fiancée, Lily, 30, started circling like vultures. Jason and I had grown up together. We weren't exactly close, but we had enough childhood memories to keep up the illusion of family loyalty. He had always been the reckless one, spending money he didn't have, jumping from one job to another, always chasing some get-rich-quick scheme that never panned out. Lily? She was the same. Entitled, always looking for the easy way out. At first, they came over just to check out the place. Compliments were thrown around. How cozy it was, how lucky I was to own a house at my age. Then came the not-so-subtle hints. Man, rent is killing us. If only we had a way to save up for a place of our own. It must be nice not having to worry about a landlord breathing down your neck. I should have seen it coming. A month after I moved in, Jason called me up, sounding desperate. They had hit a rough patch. Bills were stacking up. Their lease was up soon, and they didn't have the money to renew it. Just a couple of months, he said. That's all they needed. I hesitated. I had never lived with anyone before, and I wasn't exactly thrilled about turning my new home into a charity house. But they were family, and they swore up and down that they'd pitch in for rent and utilities while they got back on their feet. I caved. It was the biggest mistake of my life. At first, it wasn't so bad. They moved in, brought way too much stuff for a temporary stay, and made themselves a little too comfortable. But I ignored the red flags. Then, the bills started creeping up. The first month, they handed me some cash for rent, a fraction of what we had agreed on, with promises to cover the rest later. Then, when the next month rolled around, they started conveniently forgetting about the utilities. The excuses were endless. Work has been slow. We're still catching up on other bills. We'll get you next month, for sure. I told myself to be patient. They were family, but 3 months turned into 6, then into a full year. And that's when I started noticing things. Jason was still spending money, but never on rent. He was going out, buying new gadgets, ordering takeout like they had cash to burn. Lily was the same, constantly shopping for things she didn't need, while I was covering everything. Their share of rent, the water bill, the electricity, the groceries. I was being bled dry, and they didn't care. But the moment that truly shattered me, the night of my birthday, the night I found out what they thought of me. I had never been the type to make a big deal about my birthday. I didn't expect grand gestures or expensive gifts. But this year felt different. Not because I wanted a huge celebration, but because I had spent the last year supporting 2 people who had contributed nothing. I wasn't expecting anything extravagant, just a sign that they appreciated me. Even a simple, "Hey, man, thanks for letting us stay here," would have been enough. But of course, that didn't happen. Instead, Jason and Lily treated my birthday like any other day. No happy birthday. No cake. Nothing. I came home from work, expecting at least some acknowledgement, only to find them getting ready to go out. Dressed up, perfume in the air. Jason adjusts his watch. Lily fixes her makeup in the mirror. I frowned. Going somewhere. Jason barely glanced at me. Yeah, we're heading to this new steakhouse downtown. Supposed to be amazing. Lily smirked, grabbing her purse. A little treat for ourselves. A treat. They had money for a steakhouse, but not for rent. I stared at them, waiting for some kind of recognition, some guilty pause where they realized they had completely ignored my birthday. Nothing. They just walked out, laughing, leaving me standing there in the middle of my own home, the home I paid for, like I was a damn ghost. I didn't even eat dinner that night. I just sat in silence, letting reality sink in. They weren't struggling. They weren't trying to get back on their feet. They were using me. But the worst part? I still wasn't angry enough to do something about it. Not yet. That came later. Later that night, when I went to the kitchen to grab a drink, I heard laughter from the hallway. I hadn't even realized they were back. I figured they'd come in quietly, maybe out of guilt, but no. They were having a full conversation, loud and careless. And then I heard it. Lily's voice was light and amused as she said, "I can't believe how easy it is to get Ethan to cover everything. He's so stupidly responsible. It's like having a free house with a built-in maid." Jason laughed. "Yeah, man. We could probably stretch this out another year if we play it right." I stood there, frozen. I wasn't shocked. I had known, deep down, that I was being taken advantage of. But to hear it out loud? To listen to them mocking me for being responsible while living off my hard work? Something inside me snapped. I wasn't their family to them. I wasn't even a friend. I was just a free ride. And that's when I made a plan. I didn't sleep that night. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, replaying their words over and over in my head. He's so stupidly responsible. It's like having a free house with a built-in maid. We could probably stretch this out another year. They weren't ashamed. They weren't grateful. They were proud of how well they had manipulated me. And I had let them. But not anymore. By morning, my anger had settled into something colder. A quiet, focused determination. If they thought I was just going to sit back and take it, they had no idea what was coming. I got up early, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table waiting for them. They waltzed in, looking well-rested and completely oblivious. Jason yawned, stretching, while Lily scrolled through her phone like she had no cares in the world. They didn't notice that anything was off. Not at first. Then Jason frowned, looking at me. "Dude, you're up early. What's up?" I took a sip of my coffee. "We need to talk." Lily didn't even look up from her phone. "Ugh, is this about rent again?" She laughed like it was a joke. "Relax, Ethan. We're good for it." I stared at her. "No, you're not." Jason sighed, rubbing his face. "Look, man, we told you we'd pay you back. We just need a little more time." "You don't need more time," I interrupted, my voice calm. "You need a new place to live." That got their attention. Lily's head snapped up. "Excuse me." Jason frowned. "What are you talking about?" I leaned back in my chair, folding my arms. "I heard you last night." I heard everything. They went dead silent. I let the words sink in, watched as their faces shifted from confusion to realization to panic. Lily was the first to recover. "Ethan, come on. You're twisting things. We were just joking." I nodded slowly. "Right. Joking about how easy it is to manipulate me. Joking about how long you can milk me for free rent. Joking about how I'm your maid." Jason let out a forced laugh. "Dude, we were just messing around. You know how we are." I tilted my head. "Yeah? Then why do I have a written eviction notice ready to go?" Lily's mouth dropped open. "You what?" I reached into my bag, pulled out the official document, and placed it on the table between us. "You have 30 days to move out." Jason's face drained of color. "You're kicking us out." I took another sip of coffee. "Oh, I'm sorry. Did you think I was going to let you live here forever while you laughed about how easy it was to use me?" Lily scoffed. "You're seriously overreacting." I met her gaze, unblinking. "Am I?" Silence. Jason shook his head. "Ethan, man, we're family. You can't just kick family out." I smirked. "Funny. Last night, I didn't sound like family to you. I sounded like a free ride." Lily crossed her arms. "Well, what if we just don't leave? You can't actually force us out." I smiled. "You're right. That's why I also had a legal notice served to you this morning. If you're not out in 30 days, the sheriff will be here to escort you out." Jason's jaw clenched. "Are you serious?" "As serious as the rent you never paid," I said. For the first time, they had no comeback. No excuse. They knew they had lost. But they weren't going down quietly. And I wasn't done yet. The silence stretched between us, thick and suffocating. Jason and Lily weren't used to hearing no, especially from me. They had built an entire comfortable existence off my kindness, assuming I'd never have the backbone to stand up for myself. Well, they were about to get a very rude awakening. Lily was the first to break, rolling her eyes like I was some petty landlord evicting a poor, struggling family. "Ethan, you're being dramatic. You don't have to do this." Jason nodded quickly, latching onto the idea. "Yeah, man, we can work something out. Maybe we can set up a payment plan." I scoffed. "A payment plan? You've been here a year and haven't paid a dime." Jason swallowed. realizing how weak his argument sounded. We just needed time. I leaned forward, keeping my voice even but firm. You had plenty of time. Instead of using it to save money, you spent it going out, buying new stuff, and laughing about how easy it was to use me. Lily crossed her arms. So that's it. You're seriously just throwing us out on the street. I tilted my head. You mean like how you threw away your own rent money for months while expecting me to cover for you? Her face darkened, but before she could snap back, Jason tried a different tactic: guilt. Dude, what happened to you? You used to be the kind of guy who helped his family. Mom and Dad would be ashamed of how you're treating us. I felt something deep in my chest tighten. Not because I felt guilty, but because he was trying to go there. I met his gaze, my voice calm but final. You know what, Jason? Maybe they would be. But you know what else? They'd also be ashamed of how you've been living your life, taking advantage of people who love you and treating them like a wallet with legs. His face flushed red. That's not fair. I cut him off. What's not fair is me covering your rent, your bills, your food, while you turn around and mock me behind my back. What's not fair is me working my ass off to afford a home while you sit here and act like it's your God-given right to live here for free. Lily scoffed. Wow. So, what? You're better than us because you got lucky and bought a house. I let out a short laugh. Lucky? I worked for this. Unlike you two, I know how to manage money. Jason's jaw clenched. Fine. We'll go. Lily turned to him, eyes wide. Jason. He shook his head, his face set in an expression I recognized. Anger, but not the explosive kind. The kind that came from pure, wounded ego. No, it's fine, he said, standing. We're not wanted here. Ethan thinks he's better than us. I didn't take the bait. You have 30 days. After that, I'll have no problem getting the authorities involved. Jason glared at me like I was a traitor. Lily muttered something under her breath, grabbing her phone. And just like that, the conversation was over. But something told me this wasn't the end. Jason and Lily weren't the type to leave quietly. The next few days were tense. Jason and Lily didn't leave right away. They barely spoke to me, acting like I had personally ruined their lives. Instead of apologizing or at least taking accountability, they sulked around the house, making their presence as unbearable as possible. Dishes piled up. Food went missing from the fridge. They blasted music at random hours, left dirty laundry all over the place, and basically acted like rebellious teenagers trying to make me regret my decision. But I wasn't budging. They had 30 days, and every single one of those days was one step closer to them being out of my house forever. Then, a week before the eviction deadline, I came home from work and noticed something off. The place was too quiet. I stepped inside and immediately felt it, the eerie emptiness. The usual clutter from their stuff? Gone. The pile of shoes by the door? Gone. I frowned, checking the living room and the kitchen. The house wasn't empty, but it was clear they had started moving things out. At first, I felt a wave of relief. Maybe they had finally accepted reality and were leaving without drama. Maybe I wouldn't have to deal with them dragging this out until the last second. Then I checked my office, and everything froze. My desk was a mess, papers scattered, drawers open. But the worst part? My laptop was missing, along with a few other valuables, a watch my grandfather had given me, a small collection of rare coins I had kept in a case, and several $100s in cash that I had stupidly left in my drawer. My stomach dropped. They didn't just move out. They had robbed me. I grabbed my phone, my hands shaking with rage, and called Jason. Straight to voicemail. I tried again. Nothing. I checked my messages. He had blocked me. That's when I knew. This wasn't a heat-of-the-moment thing. This was planned. They knew they were getting kicked out, and instead of leaving with dignity, they decided to steal from me one last time, like it was some parting gift to themselves. And that's when my anger turned into something colder. Because Jason and Lily thought they had won. But what they didn't realize was, I wasn't done yet. The second I realized what had happened, I stopped thinking. My body just moved, adrenaline pumping as I grabbed my keys and stormed out the door. I wasn't about to let Jason and Lily get away with this. I knew exactly where they had gone. Jason's childhood friend, Mark, had a small apartment across town. They had crashed there before whenever they got into trouble or needed to lay low. And sure enough, when I pulled into the parking lot, Jason's beat-up car was right there. I shocked. This wasn't just about the money or the laptop. This was about principle. I had given them a year of free housing, and their way of thanking me was to rob me on the way out? Not happening. I knocked on the door. Hard. For a moment, nothing. Then, there were some shuffling noises. I knocked again, louder. Finally, the door cracked open just a bit, and Lily's smug face appeared. I didn't even give her a chance to speak. "Where is it?" She blinked, feigning confusion. "Ethan? Wow, what are you doing here?" I pushed the door open, stepping inside. "You know exactly why I'm here. You stole from me." Jason appeared from the couch, arms crossed, looking annoyed, like I was the one being unreasonable. "Chill out, man. It's not a big deal." I let out a sharp laugh. "Not a big deal? You took my laptop, my watch, my cash?" Jason rolled his eyes. "Oh, come on. Consider it back rent." I stared at him, my rage simmering just beneath the surface. "Back rent?" My voice was eerily calm. "You mean the rent you were supposed to pay but never did?" Lily scoffed. "We lived there for a year, Ethan. And you're seriously mad about a laptop?" My fists clenched. "You have exactly 5 minutes to hand everything over before I call the cops." That got their attention. Lily's smug expression wavered. Jason frowned, shifting uncomfortably. "You wouldn't do that." I pulled out my phone and started dialing. "Watch me." Lily's eyes widened. Okay, relax." She turned to Jason. "Just give it back." Jason gritted his teeth. "This is bull. Lily cut him off. "I'm not dealing with cops tonight. Give it back." Jason cursed under his breath but stomped toward the back room. A minute later, he came back, shoving my laptop and watch into my hands like a petulant child. "There. Happy." I checked the laptop. The screen was cracked, and I had no doubt they had gone through my files. I looked at Jason. "Where's the cash?" His jaw tightened. "We don't have it." I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "Then you better find a way to get it." Silence. Then, without another word, I turned and walked out. I didn't need to argue, because Jason and Lily had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. They thought I would just let this go. They had no idea what was coming next. I didn't sleep that night. Even after getting most of my stuff back, the rage was still there, simmering just beneath the surface. Jason and Lily had spent an entire year mooching off me, living rent-free, eating my food, and running up my bills, only to steal from me when I finally stood up for myself. And then Jason dared to call it back rent? I wasn't letting this slide. The next morning, I made 2 phone calls. The first was to my bank, reporting the fraudulent charges I had noticed over the past few months, charges I had brushed off at first, but now realized were Jason and Lily using my card when I wasn't looking. The second? The police. I filed a formal report for theft. It wasn't just about the stolen items, it was about holding them accountable. The officer I spoke with took my statement, and by the end of the conversation, Jason and Lily had a lovely surprise waiting for them, a visit from the cops. That same evening, I got a text from Jason. A long, rambling message about how I was being petty and how I was ruining his life over a misunderstanding. I didn't even respond. A few days later, mutual friends started reaching out. Turns out that Jason and Lily were desperate, trying to spin the situation so that I looked like the villain. Ethan seriously called the cops on us. Over a laptop. Can you believe it? Except, they left out the part where they had stolen from me, used me, and laughed about it behind my back. And the best part? No one believed them. Word spread fast. Friends, extended family, everyone found out what had happened. And for the first time in their lives, Jason and Lily weren't the victims. They were the problem. It didn't take long before their entire world crumbled. Jason lost his job. Not because of me, but because he had been stealing time from his workplace the same way he had been stealing from me, showing up late, slacking off, making excuses. Lily? She tried to couch hop between friends, but no one was willing to support a known user. Last I heard, they were living in a dingy motel, barely scraping by. And me? For the first time in over a year, I felt free. No more tiptoeing around ungrateful freeloaders. No more feeling like a doormat in my own home. I had cut them out for good.